Hello, everybody. Hello. So great to be with you today. And welcome to this class on tech for non-technical founders. Sorry, that's the program that I'm going to be talking about today. The class is from business owner to tech founder without the $100,000 disaster. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen and then we are going to get started. Here we go. Right. So, Happy New Year, everybody. You are in the right place in this class if you see an opportunity that you want to capture and you want to capitalize on. So you've got some sort of idea. You are ready to be the leader of this venture. So you've got an idea and you want to be the leader. You don't want to be the follower. You also don't want to be somebody who just hires developers, hands them your money, and basically is kind of led by them. You don't have a technical background. You're not even if you've taken a coding course, you are not a great coder. You don't really want to be. You don't have a degree in computer science, and you don't really want one. And you've already built a business, and so you know business basics. So, for example, you know that in order to get paid by your customers, you need to create some sort of value. And in order to keep your customers coming back, you know that you need to keep on creating value. And that value is basically what gets us paid. So you know these business basics. So if that's you, you're in the right place. If we've never met before, it is my pleasure to welcome you to this class today. My name is Sophia. I am myself a non-technical founder, and I started my career working in the media in London, and then I worked in a private equity firm, and then I went to business school at Chicago Booth. And for those of you who don't know it, it's one of the top business schools in the world. It has the University of Chicago, I think, has the largest number of Nobel Prize winners in the US. And when I was there, I decided to start a retail tech company. And with my background, I raised $1 million from investors for this venture. And in this retail tech company, we had one B2C product, which was an iPhone app, which basically generated lots of user data. And then we took that data and we sold it to brands and retailers. So we had two types of revenue and two types of products, a B2B enterprise solution and a B2C app. And it was really when I was running this company that I was writing about my journey as a non-technical founder in Forbes. And that's when people started reaching out and saying, "Oh, I'm a non-technical founder too. How are you doing this? Can you teach us?" And institutions started reaching out, like London Business School reached out and Oxford University. And essentially, out of that, that's how Tech for Non-Techies was born. And now, 700 people have gone through Tech on Techies programs, and our alumni have built apps and platforms and marketplaces. And you're going to hear about how our alumni have done this. They've scaled their customer bases and their revenue. Some of them have raised funding. Not all of them wanted to do it, but some of them wanted to do it and they did it and joined top accelerators. So if this sounds like something that you want to do, you are in the right place. So, just a bit of housekeeping. We are going to be in class for about an hour, and then I'm going to take your questions at the end. So, in total, this session is likely to be about 75 to 90 minutes. If you have questions, please put them into the Q&A box. I'm going to take your questions at the end because if I start answering your questions now, then we will never get to the end. The good news is that if you get distracted, if you need to go, or if you just want to watch this class again, there will be a replay available, and that replay is going to be available for 7 days, so basically until next Tuesday. And at the end of this class, I'm going to be sharing information about the Tech for Non-Technical Founders program. And I also promised you a show up live bonus. So right at the end of the class, before I start taking your questions, so in about an hour, you're going to get the show up live bonus. So if you're watching the recording, I'm sorry, you're not going to get the bonus. It's literally only for the people who are here. So, okay, let's get started. So let's talk about you. You are here because you want to build a tech product. So maybe that's an app, maybe it's a platform, maybe it's a marketplace, maybe it's a software as a service solution, something like this. You also want to become a new version of an entrepreneur. You want to get into tech entrepreneurship, which means that you want to be seen as a disruptor, as an innovator in your industry. You want to scale your user base. So you're not just somebody who is, working in one lawyer's office, one dentist's office. You want to have national or international reach. You might want to raise funding and you might want to join an accelerator. And you have probably thought about what an exit would look like. So if you create this thing, what would it look like when you sell it to a large company or when you exit it on the stock market? And that means that you want to make a lot of money. And I think that's a beautiful thing because how do we make money in a capitalist society? We make money by creating value. So if you want to make a lot of money as a tech founder, that means you want to create a lot of value. So for example, my iPhone is very expensive, as I'm sure, everybody else's is. And Apple is a very valued company, but think about how much value they give me. So I'm very happy to pay them because the value I get in return is great. So if you want to create a tech company, you want to exit it, you want to make a lot of money, that means you want to create a lot of value. And that's a beautiful thing. You also want to stop feeling intimidated by tech jargon and tech bros. And tech bros have been really dominant and they're very loud. And there is this kind of pressure from the tech people to take non-technical people and to either make us feel smaller or to say, oh, you have to learn to code, you have to become an AI wizard, and we're going to use all of this tech jargon to essentially gatekeep you and keep you out. Well, that's complete nonsense. So if you're here, you have tried these things. Some of you have taken coding courses. You've tried to use AI or no-code tools to build your product. You have tried hunting for a technical co-founder, or you've been relying on tech friends for guidance so far. Some of you have already tried hiring developers. Maybe you've got developers working for you. So I have done all of these things. And I can tell you that in general, when you don't know what you're doing, you end up making expensive mistakes and going down all sorts of cul-de-sacs. So I'll give you an example. When I graduated from Chicago Booth and I had raised that money and I hired developers, I was told by lots and lots of advisors, lots and lots of people, okay, as a non-technical founder, you have to learn something about technology, which, I agreed with, and you have to go and take a coding course. And so I was recommended the Stanford Computer Science 101 course, which you could take online. And in that course, one of the things we had to do is turn a little blue square into a little black square. And so I did this exercise and it took me 3 hours. 3 hours. So literally, at the time I was a CEO of a tech company. So I had investors, I had developers working for me, I had a marketing team. We were doing customer outreach. I was a very busy person. I had things to do. And yet I spent 3 hours of my day turning a little blue square into a little black square. Is this a good use of a CEO's time? I would say no, it is not. So let's get back to you. So if you've signed up for a coding course, then I'm assuming that for a lot of you, you just hate coding because if you didn't, then you wouldn't be in this class. Or even if you really didn't have a visceral hatred for it, then did you know what coding language you should have been learning? Should it be Python? That seems to be all the rage, or C++, or Ruby on Rails. Do you know what all of these things do? And if you signed up to these courses, did you complete them? And I completed that Computer Science 101 Stanford course. But the thing is, after I completed it, I literally didn't know what to do with myself because, I had developers. I went to them and I said, I've done this course. And they were like, okay, well, good for you. What do you want from us? Because it was very painful for me and it was a big learning curve for me. But it didn't mean that I could actually review their code, give them any kind of feedback. It literally meant nothing. It was a it was a road, it was a very painful road to nowhere. So, in this age of AI, some of you have definitely used AI and no-code tools to create your product. So the thing is, some no-code tools are very difficult to use if you're a non-technical person. Even though they're marketed for non-technical people, they're actually much better used by technical people. If you're using AI and you're creating AI generated code, you are running into a lot of trouble. And we're going to cover this in this class today. So if you want to understand when to use AI to create your product and when to stay away from it, definitely stay on. The main point is that AI generated code is not fit for production and it will have problems that you can't spot or fix, which we'll cover. If you are using no-code tools or AI to create your product, essentially you're not going to be able to create something that is good enough to give to customers. It's not going to be a good enough end product. It's definitely not something that you can charge for. Again, we'll cover that in the second part of this class. Now, if you're a non-technical founder, some of you are hunting for a technical co-founder or relying on tech friends for guidance. Now, there is a lot of demand for technical co-founders. There is not a lot of supply, which means that if you're running around and looking for a technical co-founder, you're basically going around begging. You're one of many. You look desperate, and there are kind of these technical co-founders who are just picking, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, which makes you even more desperate. And do you make good decisions when you're desperate? Now, if you're very lucky and you have somebody who is, a great technologist, a technology strategist, and a code wizard, and all of these things, and they have your best interests at heart and they really want to help. So, say you've won the lottery with that person. You still need to understand how to speak to them. You need to know what to ask them because the vision is yours, the idea is yours, it's not theirs. So they shouldn't be leading you. You should be leading them by asking them relevant questions and by getting them to actually help you achieve something. Okay. This next slide is really important. So if you're multitasking, watch this because this is where basically you could end up losing a lot of money. If you're trying to find a technical co-founder, you are in the market for a very unfair split of your equity down the line. So what often happens is that non-technical founders, the person who has the idea, the person who has the vision, who sees the gap in the market and who knows how to commercialize, i.e. how to turn this venture from a project to an actual commercial thing and then sell it, that person gives away half of their company to somebody just because they can code. You don't even know if it's the right code. You don't know if that person can hire great developers. You don't know what their work ethic is like. You don't know if they're actually going to be in the trenches with you or not. And so let's just put some numbers onto this. On average, a very early stage company, a company that has a PowerPoint presentation and maybe a tested prototype. If you don't know what a prototype is, don't worry, we'll cover that in the second half of this class. But basically, a very early stage company is on average going to be valued at about $7 million. So if you give away half of your company, you're giving somebody $3.5 million because they can code. And you don't even know if it's the right tech stack. You might not even know what a tech stack is, and you don't even know their work ethic. Now, if you sign a legally binding agreement with them to do this, and in a year's time, you find out that actually they're not the relevant person for you, and you're doing all of the work, which happens all of the time, it's going to be very difficult to get out. Anyway, this could be a whole lesson, so let's move on. If you are hiring developers too early, if you're hiring developers before testing your product and making a test product, and I'll tell you how to make a test product in this class, then you could potentially waste a lot of money. I'm going to give you an example, which is very, very typical. The point is, if you don't know what developers do, if you don't know how to set them tasks, you will not get good ROI on working with them. And even outsourced developers from, I don't know, India or Colombia, they are still expensive. You still have to pay them. And this is an area that leads to the most expensive mistakes and people running out of cash and mistakes that are entirely preventable. Speaking of which, here's a story that I want you to pay real attention to because what I'm about to tell you is a very, very, very frequent mistake that non-technical founders make. So let's imagine that you have just found out that you have completely wasted $180,000. What would that feel like? It will feel devastating, right? It's a lot of money. So here's this cautionary tale for you. There's a founder I know who is very clever and had experience in language learning. So she really knew how people learned languages and how the brain basically absorbed new languages. And so she decided to make a language learning app because she had this brain knowledge. However, she didn't have any software innovation knowledge. And so she went straight to developers and she said, I've got this idea. Make it. The developers made her an app, and then she thought, okay, great, now I need to acquire users. So she started advertising it on social media. And she was advertising it, things were going well because people were downloading the app and they were using it. But they were using it only once. Only once. So people would download this app, they would try it out, and they would never come back. And after a while, she met somebody who worked in a design agency and said, I've got this issue with my app. I don't understand why people are using it once and nobody's coming back. So the designer looked at it and they said, well, did you do any prototype testing? Did you work with designers? Did you think about your UX? And she said, no, I don't know what prototype testing is. And they basically said, well, this is clear because your app is really difficult to use. It's really bulky. It's almost like you have to read instructions to use this app, and nobody does that anymore. When people download apps now, we just poke around intuitively. And the designer said, your app is completely not intuitive. So if you want to make this product a success, you have to basically get rid of absolutely everything and start again. And so when she calculated how much money she had spent on developers and then on the advertising campaign to basically just get this knowledge that I have shared with you in less than 20 minutes in this free class, she had wasted $180,000, which is a lot of money. This is entirely preventable, but extremely common for non-technical founders. So in order for you not to do this, you need to do two things. It's actually very simple, two things. Number one, you need to know when to use AI and when to hire professionals. And number two, when you do hire professionals, you need to understand which professionals. Who are you going to hire and how are you going to work with them? Because if they're technical professionals and you're a non-technical leader, how's that going to work? You need to know essentially these two things. Some of you are also going to need to know how to raise money as a non-technical founder, but actually you get that knowledge if you just do step one and step two. This is why so many of our alumni ended up getting into top accelerators and ended up raising money, because if you know one and two, fundraising is much, much easier. Okay, so now let's talk about when you should use AI to build your product. Have you guys heard of vibe coding? Or have you heard that basically AI is going to get rid of software engineers and that now you can just write your idea into a chatbot and then you're going to get ready-made code and you'll never need to work with developers and you'll never need to pay a developer? I mean, I wish that were true. If that were true, that would be amazing, right? Okay. So my question to you is, I'm assuming that you are using ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude for something. And so my question to you is, when was the last time that ChatGPT lied to you? Because ChatGPT lied to me very, very recently. So the other day, I was looking at a transcript of a podcast that I had recorded, and I asked it to write me a summary so we could make a blog post out of it. And then, the summary was kind of crazy. Like it started making things up. But the thing is, I know the podcast because I recorded it. I wrote the original script. So I said, "No, this is not true. Get rid of these points, add these points, start again." This was easy for me to do because I'm familiar with the topic. I did the original podcast, so I could spot the lie. If you are the subject matter expert, you can spot the lie and you know that right now, AI hallucinates, i.e., lies. So if you're not a technical founder, you are not going to be able to see faulty code. More on that later, though. However, there is an amazing, amazing, amazing use case for AI as a non-technical founder. Your job as a non-technical founder is to use AI to create a prototype, and a prototype is a test product, and get real feedback from your target customers. So this is a screenshot of a prototype. Basically, if you just see the one on the left, it's literally just boxes. It doesn't have any content in it, no text, no pictures, but it gives you an outline of what an app design would look like, what an app screen would look like. And the screen on the right basically has the pictures filled in. Essentially, this is just a set of pictures. That's like they don't contain any code. You can't store any data with that. It's literally a set of images. But if you have an idea, whether it's for an app or a platform or a SaaS product or enterprise software, whatever it is, essentially what you need to do is to create a bunch of screens, not a huge bunch, a small number of screens, which are just images, and take those images to your target customers and get feedback from them. Find out, what do they think? Is there a need? Would they use this? Would they pay for it? Why or why not? And essentially, you can now use AI to create this prototype. Previously, we had to work with designers to get them to do it, but now you can use AI to quickly and cheaply do this. Once you have tested your product and you've learned how to test it properly, and because if you don't know how to test it properly, people will basically lie to you and be really sycophantic and say, yes, 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 I'll definitely use this. This is amazing. And basically, they will lie to you because they just want to be nice, and nobody wants to be mean and say, I would never use this. And then when you release your product, actually, you have no willing users. This is why not only do you need to create your test product, you need to learn how to get feedback properly. When you do that, then once you validated the features, you validated the concept, you actually have a good design, then you're ready to work with professionals. Then you're ready to hire a tech team. So this is one of my students who did this last year. So she literally joined the Tech for Non-Technical Founders program in November last year. And she was at the time a retailer. So she had 3 stores. She had a flower shop, a chocolate store, and a clothes store. And her name is Noor. And she found that in her businesses, she was getting lots and lots of orders via Instagram. So basically, she was getting lots and lots of Instagram direct messages with people ordering stuff. And things got messy, right? 3 different shops. A lot of the time, the same customers would buy from the different shops. Anyway, orders were getting lost. Different sizes were going to different people. They would forget what prices they promised to people. Anyway, it was just a mess. And she was thinking, okay, there has to be some sort of tech tool that scrapes our DMs and puts them into some sort of order processing system that we can manage and we can basically manage our orders. And she spoke to other small retailers, and other small retailers and similar kinds of businesses said, no, we have the same problem too. It's a nightmare. So she thought, okay, well, let me try to solve this. There's got to be a solution. At this point, she literally had no knowledge of software innovation. She had no team, and also she had no funding. So she was, for a lot of you, if you are at a just at an early idea stage. This is exactly where she was when she joined us. So she joined the for Non-Technical Founders program, and we taught her how to use AI to build her first test product. And we taught her how to get real, so real, not sycophantic, but actually real feedback from her target users. She did this. She then iterated her product a few times, changed the features a few times, tested it a few times more. And then what ended up happening was that she started applying to startup competitions and she won two startup competitions. And in total, she won $65,000 in funding, in equity-free funding. So she didn't need to give away any equity. Why did that happen? It happened because everybody else in these startup competitions was basically coming with a presentation and talking about their vision. She did that, but she also had a product which had customers waiting. She literally was like, okay, if you give me the money, then I am going to make this thing with these developers for these customers, and these customers are waiting for it, and this is how much that we're going to charge them. So this is so much more impressive than just saying we have an idea, fund us. So she won this money. She won 65 grand. She hired professionals to build out the real thing. And just within 7 months, so 7 months after she had an idea, her product was out and already generating revenue. So now she's changed her career. Her retail stores are being managed, but now managed by other people because she is now growing her fintech company. So her opportunity for her career has completely expanded. And so this could be you. This is January now. This could be you in July. That's not that far. That is her timeline. And this is what's possible now. But you might be thinking, well, Sam Altman says that I can build the product myself. What about vibe coding? I heard so much about it. I get you. There is so much hype about it. So the Financial Times interviewed one of the world's top vibe coders. His name is Willison. He's actually a developer. He's a developer who basically creates new products using vibe coding apps. So this is what the FT says. Willison says he wouldn't use AI generated code for projects he planned to ship out unless he had reviewed each line. Not only is there the risk of hallucination, but the chatbot's desire to be agreeable means it may say an unusable idea works. That is a particular issue for those of us who don't know how to edit the code because we risk creating software with inbuilt problems. So, remember what I said to you. If you're the subject matter expert, you can spot the lie that ChatGPT and Gemini and all of these tools are telling you. If you are not, you are going to create faulty code and you won't even know that it's faulty. And if you end up using it, then and sending it to customers, you might end up creating massive problems for your customers, not only for yourself, but for your customers, which would be a disaster. Okay, so I have told you step one. Step one is use AI to build your prototype and test it with your target market. This is exactly what we taught Noor to do. The next thing that we taught Noor to do is when you are ready to hire the right people, these are the people that you need to hire. Because she knew that, she could literally talk in the startup competition saying very clearly, these are the people that I need, this is how much they're going to cost, and this is why she looked like such an investable proposition. So now let's talk about the people that you need on your team. When you think about technology, we all get a little bit kind of overwhelmed. But an app is a product just like the chair that you're sitting on. And every product has an assembly line of specialists who basically go to create this product. So the chair, your clothes, for everything, there is an assembly line of specialists. Your job as the non-technical founder is to know who belongs on that assembly line, what each person does, and how to make sure that they're building the same vision. So you don't want somebody who's building a chair and somebody else building a sofa and then them trying to blend these two together. If you just know how to do these three things. Who belongs to the assembly line? What each person does, and how do I make them work towards the same goal? That is how you lead a tech team as a non-technical founder. So here are the roles, here are the jobs that need to be done in most tech companies. Somebody needs to do design. Design has to be done. Most of you are going to need a front-end developer and a back-end developer, and the job of a product analyst also has to be done. Some of you are going to need a data scientist, but in most cases you don't, because in most cases, actually, that's somebody that you need later. Some of these roles can double up, and depending on what you're doing, some of these roles vary in importance. So for B2C companies, what's going to be super important is going to be different to what's super important in enterprise software. So it just means that with some of these, depending on what you're doing, you might need to really splash out on one of these jobs, but the other people can be a bit more junior. But it really depends on what you're actually building. So your job as a non-technical founder is to understand what all of these roles do that I just showed you, so you can hire the right people for your company and give them the right tasks. So think of it like lawyers. There are lots of different types of developers. There are also lots of different types of lawyers. To hire a lawyer, you wouldn't go to law school, right? So to hire a developer, you don't need to go to a coding school. But you do need to understand that there are different types of developers. So you don't want to hire a divorce lawyer to lead an M&A transaction. It is literally the same when it comes to developers. You just need a basic understanding of what these people do. If you understand these two things, how to use AI and how to work with the pros, this is how you have the fastest and most pragmatic approach to getting the result that you want, to building your product and becoming a successful tech entrepreneur. Because your job is to be the leader, to set the vision, not to build everything yourself. Because you are the person who understands what the problem is. If you understand what the problem is, if you understand who the customers are who are experiencing this problem, and if you know how to commercialize, that is the multi-million-dollar skill set. Okay. You might be thinking, well, I don't know, but all of these Silicon Valley tech bros who are very loud say that I should learn to code. Well, here is what one of New York's top angel investors has to say. David Segura is not only one of the new, how did he become a top angel investor? He has exited his companies as a non-technical founder. So he's a very, very successful non-technical founder. And he says, you should become fluent and knowledgeable of software trends and best practices. Learn how to manage a technical endeavor from both a project and a product standpoint. But you will not get credit or a moral victory for becoming an average coder in a world that only values excellence. Recruit and inspire technical talent to work alongside you and get over your insecurities as soon as you possibly can. So literally, this is somebody who has followed his own advice, and now he lives in a gorgeous apartment above the Hermes store in New York. So not bad. So here is an example of another one of my students who actually did this. So first you heard about a retailer, and now you're going to hear about a dentist. So Dr. Marilyn Sandor is a pediatric dentist in Florida, and she had been running her own clinic in Florida for about 20 years. And then COVID hit, and seeing her patients obviously became very difficult because there was social distancing. And so she wanted to carry on treating her patients because people still had issues with toothaches. But also, she was running a business and her revenue completely dried up. So she needed to create a solution that was going to help her patients and also that was going to, bring in some money. And so she had an idea for an app where essentially where parents of children, with toothaches could take photos and get advice from Marilyn directly through this app, and she could write prescriptions and so on. So she joined Tech for Non-Technical Founders, no knowledge of software. We taught her how to hire and lead a product team, how to set them tasks, and how to basically create this thing whilst she was running her dental practice remotely And whilst also she was homeschooling her kids, remember that time people were homeschooling? And so, despite all of this, she actually managed to launch her app. It's called Good Checkup, and her patients started using it and they loved it because, there were all these worried mums who wanted to get advice about what was happening with their kid. So her patients loved it. It started spreading to other dentists, but then something really weird and interesting happened. So essentially, somebody in a retirement community discovered it. And it turned out that retirement communities have this issue that it's really difficult for people in retirement communities to go and see the dentist. So essentially, people in retirement communities really wanted to get checkups via this app and get dental advice via this app. And this is not a market that Marilyn even knew about because she's a pediatric dentist, so she literally works with kids. And so, kind of by accident, because she ended up falling into this massive and rich market, right? The senior market, very wealthy market. And so her customer base has expanded exponentially because her product can be used with a 3-year-old and a 93-year-old. And this is what I love about tech innovation because it expands your opportunities so much. So this is the kids version of her product called Good Checkup, and it's available in Florida and various states around the US. Here's another one of my students who is from a very, very different industry. So this is Musi Skasana, and Musi is a fund manager and he runs a property investment fund in Johannesburg in South Africa. And so he started his career as a banker. And then he decided to set up his own fund. And when he joined us, his fund had about $1 billion, so $1 billion in assets under management. So clearly, he's a clever guy, he's a hardworking guy, he knows how to get things done. But the problem that he saw was that the investors in his fund were going to retire soon. And he was thinking, okay, if all of my clients are going to essentially leave the market soon, what's going to happen to my business? It's not, it's not going to have longevity. So he thought, I want to bring in the millennials, I want to bring in Gen Z. But how do millennials and Gen Z, what do we expect? Essentially, they expect to do everything via an app. So he thought, okay, I need to create a fintech app for these people to trade and invest via my company. So he joined Tech for Non-Technical Founders. He learned how to test his concept properly with target users. So he saw the need, didn't know anything about software innovation. We taught him how to create a test product, how to test it with his target users, how to hire the right team. And within 9 months, so literally 9 months after he came to us, his company launched the MSM investing app. And he was the CEO, he was running his business, but his business within 9 months went from, a local property fund manager to a fintech business. His clients, he's now attracting and scaling the millennial and Gen Z market. And clients have a new way to invest and interact. And his opportunity for an exit, his opportunity for a very, very lucrative exit has completely just exploded. And this is the app. So if you're in South Africa, give that a go, MSM. You might be thinking, well, Sophia, this whole prototype thing that you're talking about, is it really the best use of my resources because I am busy? And I get it. We're all busy. But listen to me. When you skip proper design validation and go straight into development, which is what that language learning app person did, you usually waste 30 to 70% of your initial build budget. And so let's imagine that you're just going to have a small MVP build. And this is kind of what I just showed you. I showed you the very early versions of Marilyn's app and Musi's app. So for something like that, if you're working with an outsourced development team, it might be 80 to 150K. If that product is not tested properly, you're going to waste $30 to $100,000 on features that get scrapped or redone. This is why Noor, with only $65,000, which she got equity free, could move really, really fast and create a product that people are already happy to pay for. And this is why the language learning person who didn't know about this wasted more than double that. Remember this ratio. For every dollar spent on design and prototype testing, you are saving $10 in development rework. So yes, this is worth your time. So speaking of time, you might be thinking, is this going to take loads of time? So about 700 people have now passed through this program. And what I have seen is that you need to spend about 4 hours per week for 5 weeks to get the absolute best results. But if you spend just 3 hours per week for 3 weeks and you just use that time to use AI to build and test your first version, you would already have avoided hundreds of thousands in waste. So literally just 9 hours. So my question is 9 hours of your time worth $100,000 to you? You might be thinking, I don't want to spend time on theory. I want to start doing is 2026. This is the year that I want to build my tech venture. And you know what? I am like you too. I'm very prone to jumping into action. So I totally get it. And hiring people and doing interviews and building and hiring developers sounds kind of cool, like you're being productive. And people who don't know anything about tech, they get really impressed. But the thing is, if that's what you're doing without really following a process, you are wasting a lot of time and money. Instead of running around like a headless chicken, you could have built your first version and got feedback from your target market basically by around mid-February. And this is how you get the best ROI in your efforts. Again, I invite you to think about Noor, who literally within 7 months went from a very, very early stage idea to having a product that is working, that customers are happy to pay for, that is now scaling, and she is literally turning down investors. Because when you know who does what on a product team, you know whom to hire and when, and you don't burn cash on expensive hires. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you about the Tech for Non-Technical Founders program. I am going to then give you the bonus that I've told you about, and then I'm going to take your questions at the end. Okay? So, the Tech for Non-Technical Founders program that you've been hearing so much about is the only step-by-step program that you need to build a tech product as a non-technical founder. There's literally nothing like it on the market. So in the program, you get our flagship course, which is the Tech for Non-Technical Founders course, which I've taught at London Business School, Oxford University, and at Techstars, and governments have bought it. So this is a very stress-tested course. But you don't just get given video lessons and left alone. You actually get 4 coaching sessions to help you go from idea to product. You also get 2 mini courses on fundraising and on hiring your tech team. And I can't wait to tell you who you're going to be working with one-on-one because it's super amazing. And if you get stuck, if you're watching the courses or if you're creating a product using AI and you get stuck, you're not on your own. Write to us and we will help you. Okay, after completing this program, and by the way, you could literally complete this program in 3 to 6 weeks. So let's just say by the end of February. After completing this program, you are going to go from idea to product. You are going to know how to go from idea to product. You will know when and how to use AI and which AI tools to use and how to use them. You're going to know when to call in the pros and which pros are relevant for you. This will help you have a clear fundraising strategy and pitch to investors because you'll know exactly how to hire the right people and estimate how much they're going to cost. This means that you're going to have a tech founder mindset. So you'll be able to understand the jargon and you're going to be able to hold your own with the tech bros. Most importantly, you will actually have a tangible product. You will have something to show people and you will have feedback from your target market. And this is going to help you have clear next steps. Should you give it to developers? In which case, which developers? Should you pivot? Should you change your idea? Are you now ready for fundraising? Or are you going to invest in this product yourself? This is where you are going to be at the end of February 2026, which means that you can follow Noor's timeline and already have a product out on the market by the summer. Okay, so What happens step by step? When you enroll, the first thing that's going to happen is that you and I are going to have a strategy session because each one of you is different. If you have a B2C product and you have a vision for a B2C company, that's very different from a software as a service enterprise solution. So, first, we need to figure out what is your vision? What stages are you at? What have you tried already? And what are your constraints? Do you have the constraints that Marilyn did that, you are rescuing your business and you're also homeschooling your kids? Because these are serious constraints. What are your biggest risks right now? And what are your biggest opportunities? Once we identify that, then we can really help you create a strategy to get the best ROI from this program. The aim of the strategy session is to help you make sure that investing in tech for non-technical founders is the best business investment you have ever made. So after you and I have met, I'm going to take notes and I'm going to pass you on to our product coach. And we have this product coach only for January. And what I'm about to tell you is literally insane. Listen to this. So this is your product coach. You get to work with this guy one-on-one. So his name is Rags Vidali. He has launched the YouTube Partner Program, and this program has paid out over $100 billion to creators. He is also the guy that launched AI effects on Instagram. That basically means, the Instagram filters that make everybody look nice? He launched that. That's him to 600 million people. He also founded another product at Meta, which is the click to WhatsApp ads, and that's a 5 billion product. He has also led product management at 6 startups, and he is now running his own VC funded startup. And so essentially, this means that he has worked with massive products and he has also worked with tiny budgets. And this means that you have big tech level innovation, but you also have somebody who really understands how to work under severe budget constraints. The aim of this is to give you the world's best product mentorship. So once I pass you over to Rags, you're going to have 3 sessions with him. In session 1, you're going to map out your product development strategy. So essentially, it's like, okay, you and I are going to talk about what you're building, who it's for, and then you and him are going to talk about, okay, what features need to go into this? How are we going to build the test version of this with AI? What really needs to go in the first version? What goes into subsequent versions? Then you are going to create your first test product using AI, and Rags is going to guide you to do that. He's also going to guide you about how to get proper user feedback. And he's going to guide you in how essentially Google Ventures what Google Ventures do when they have new ideas. And Google Ventures obviously have a very, very good track record. So you're going to follow exactly what they do, and Rags is going to help you. So you're going to create your first test product. You're going to then test it with 4 or 5 users to get feedback. After that, in your last session with Rags, you're going to work together to understand what does this user feedback mean? What does this mean for the marketplace and for my opportunities? Should I create another version of the prototype? Am I now ready for fundraising? If yes, how much money do I need to raise? What's my product team going to cost? Or if I'm ready to start building, then who am I going to hire and when and in what succession? This is what you're going to do with Rags. And honestly, this level of expertise is usually only available in the top accelerator programs or in the top business school programs. So I actually led one of the Techstars programs, and I can tell you, so at an accelerator like Techstars, so Techstars takes 6% of your equity. So with a $7 million valuation, that's over $400,000. And it's a group program. Techstars, the accelerator is a group program, and here you're getting one-on-one. Or you can get this level of advice in a top MBA. So Rags and I both went to Chicago booth. I paid $180,000 in tuition. It was 2 years of my life. And again, you do not have a personalized product coach assigned to you. You might have somebody like Rags coming in to do a guest lecture and you get to ask them questions, but they're certainly not going to work with you one-on-one. Okay, so as well as essentially four sessions one-on-one with top expert product leaders, you are going to also get our flagship program, Tech for Non-Technical Founders. The aim of this is for you to have a guide that you have lifetime access to, and this guide is going to help you go from idea to scale. So in week one, over the course, you're going to map out your idea and have a clear product plan. If you don't know what product managers do, if you don't know what a product plan is, this is where you learn it. In week two, you are going to learn UX design principles. This is super important because design for technology is not the same as making pretty logos. It is a really, really important discipline, and you need to get this right. In week three, you are going to have lessons on how to build your first version with AI no-code tools. And I recommend that you watch the lessons here and you go to the session with Rags. This way, you get the most out of this program. However, if you don't have the time before you go to see Rags, Rags is going to be the best leader to do this. Number four, this is when things get serious. So after you have created your prototype and you've tested it and you're ready to hire developers, you need to understand what developers do. You need to know how to work with them. You need to understand the tech stack. This is what you do in week four. In week five, we cover how to get your first users and build growth into your product. This is really important because what we do not want for you is for you to invest your time and your money into creating a great product. Let's say it's an app. We don't want you to create a wonderful, amazing, great app, have it sitting on the App Store and have no plan to get people to use it. Because that product, no matter how great it is going to die. This is why you need to understand how to bake growth hacking into your product. Ragus has done this over and over again. I have done this too. This is what you're going to learn in week five. Week six is super useful, especially if you are fundraising. In week six, you are going to learn how to use data and AI to keep improving your product. So at the beginning, you're probably not going to have much data, but as you get more users and as people keep on using your product, you are essentially going to generate more and more data. In the age of AI, what you should be doing with that data is creating algorithms to make your product better and potentially taking that data and maybe selling it. If you have an idea about how to do this, or you have a vision, you have some sort of vision of what this is going to look like, you're going to be a very interesting investment proposition in this age of AI because essentially data is what feeds the AI algorithms. And also that means you can have a constant improvement and growth engine within your own product. This is what we do in week six. So Musis Kasana, whom I've mentioned previously, he has taken this exact program. And this is what he said. He said, I never thought I would be at this stage so quickly. I never thought I'd have to learn to code and that it would take years. But in less than 9 months, we've built and tested an app for our asset management firm, and we already have clients using it. So 9 months, this could be you in September. What a great September that would be. Do you want to be my next case study? Because it's completely possible. So you might be thinking, well, Sophia, I don't know all of these rich people, and you're talking about fundraising. How do I do that? Well, I don't have a rich uncle either, and yet I raised $1 million. What you're going to do is you are going to also get a mini course on fundraising, and you are going to get the exact monthly template and the exact process that I use to raise money. And this is going to help you mitigate non-technical founder concerns and show traction before you get funding. And this is one of my students who actually used this program to get funding to build her product. So this is Lucia Marin. She says, Tech for non-technical founders helped me understand all the aspects involved in developing an app and helped me get investment to build my first prototype. Sophia explained everything in a very clear and simple way. I couldn't recommend this course highly enough. So if you want to fundraise for your product, this is where you come. You might be thinking, okay, well, this sounds great, but okay, how do I actually hire, once I get the money, or maybe I already have, or maybe I don't need to fundraise, how do I hire people? How do I hire tech people? How do I lead them? Well, we actually have a bonus module on that. You are going to learn what to look for, how to get the right resources, because there are some platforms that you should really avoid, and there are some platforms where there are really, really great people. You're also going to discover, do you really need a CTO? Because some of you do, a lot of you don't. And you're also going to get a lesson on how to actually manage that team because you're the non-technical person, you're the leader, and you've got people working for you. You don't understand what they do, but you somehow need to lead them. How do you do that? This is what we cover in this class. So now, imagine if you had the knowledge and the confidence and the expert guidance to build your first tech product as a proud non-technical founder. So now, as we wrap up this class, you have two choices. You can either use what you've learned today and free online resources to try to do it yourself. And my experience, this is going to take you a lot of time. You're definitely not going to achieve the results that I told you about in 7 months or 9 months, and you will make some expensive mistakes. Or you could join us at Tech Fund and Technical Founders and get the kind of personalized support you would really only get in a top accelerator or a top MBA program. This is definitely less time and less expensive, and this will catapult your career. So the total value of this offer is $7,294 because the Tech Fund and Technical Founders course sells for $2,500. The 4 one-on-one coaching sessions with me and Rags, they cost $4,000 if we were to just sell them on their own. The two mini courses are about $800 together. And you also remember it's completely invaluable to get your questions answered when you get stuck. But in January, I have managed to get this for you at just under $2,000. So I'm super, super excited to offer this to you because honestly, what you are getting in this program, even just one, even if you didn't have any of the product coaching, even if Rags and I weren't there, even if you didn't have the Tech for Non-Technical Founders course, but you only had, say, the mini course on fundraising, it would be worth $2,000 alone. But you're getting all of this together. So this is why I'm super, super excited about you joining us. So at the end of this program, so literally by the end of February, you could have your test product built. You would have your personal product strategy via one-on-one coaching with people that you can really brag about. And again, if you're fundraising, if you're applying to top accelerators, saying that you had advice from somebody like Rags is going to put you in really good stead. You're going to build your tech founder mindset. You're not going to be intimidated by the tech bros because you're going to have a realistic view on AI, on tech budgets, and on hiring. And you have lifetime access to all of the courses. So when you join us, you're going to get immediate access to book your session, to book your strategy session with me. And then I'm going to pass you over to Rag so you can start working with him one-on-one. And my aim is for you to basically be done with the one-on-one coaching. So for you to have your product, for you to have your tested product by about mid to late February, which is an amazing start to 2026. This is how you move fast. This is how you achieve the results that Nora Musi did. There will never be a better time to join because we only have 10 spaces available, and Rags is only teaching with us this January. This is why, genuinely, if you want to do this, the time is now. We have opened enrollment today, and enrollment closes next week. So you've got literally 7 days to decide whether you want to join us. The reason why we only make 10 places available is that me and Rags want to give you our undivided attention. So we really want to get into your business. We really want to understand your vision. We want to understand your opportunities, your constraints, and really help you to actually create something that is going to be a success. Which means that we can't take on lots and lots of people. So which is why we keep our cohort small. So if you want to be where Noor and Musi were, by the time summer starts, the time to join us is now. And as I said, Rags might not be coming back. Right now, we just have an agreement that he is going to be with us only for this January cohort. So the deadline, as I said, is to join us by Tuesday next week. So you've got 7 days. And what's interesting is that I know I've spoken a lot about fundraising. We actually have investors who have frequently taken this program because a lot of investors are not technical. And if you think about it, if you have an idea for a tech venture, you are an investor, right? Because you're thinking about how do I allocate capital? What is my strategy? Who do I invest in? And that's basically how an investor thinks. And this is why investors take our class. And so here's what one of our investor students said. As an angel investor in technology, I find Sophia's insights and advice very useful, as well as time saving, helping filter the relevant aspects. Thank you, said Ali Jetha. And so this is why I want you to think of yourself like an investor, whether you technically are or not, because your time, your energy, and your money all should be allocated in a very smart way. Okay, you might be thinking, well, yeah, this sounds good, but I was going to hire developers to do all of this for me. So why do I need to make all of this effort? Because, you will have to do some work, right? The thing is, think about this. There are lots of development shops that are going to be very happy to take a clueless, non-technical founder's money. What do you think normally happens when you don't know what you're doing and you hire people to do something that your entire business vision depends on? So, as I mentioned, remember that $180,000 mistake that I told you about? That is very typical. Things like this happen all the time. This is why it is worth investing a comparatively tiny amount of time and money now so you don't end up in that position. You might be thinking, well, I've got a friend developer, a developer husband, a developer neighbor, and they're going to sort it out. And if that is true, keep them on board. I'm not saying get rid of them. What I am saying is that don't outsource all of your agency to this person. Because if technology is a big part of your business, not having a clue about it puts you in a really dangerous position and frankly means that this tech person is the leader and not you. Because if you are the leader, you need to be able to ask the right questions, you need to be able to hire the right people, and you need to be able to set the right tasks. So if you're genuinely going to be the visionary and the leader, you cannot completely give away your agency. This is why you have to learn, even if you have the most wonderful developer in your life who is dying to help you, you still need to understand how to get the best out of them. So here is a recap. The deadline to sign up for Tech for Non-Technical Founders is Tuesday. If you have any questions about this offer, ask me now or email me or book a call with me because essentially we have 7 days for you to decide, is this the right thing for you or not? If you book a call with me or if you email me, or actually if you just even ask me a question right now, I will tell you whether this is right for you or if it's not right for you. So let's recap what's included. The Tech for Non-Technical Founders course, which is the program that I have taught at London Business School and Oxford University and Techstars and have sold to governments. The value of this is $2,500. You're going to get 4 one-on-one coaching sessions with me. So you're going to get your own personal accelerator with me and with Rags to help you go from idea to tested product to a product strategy and even a fundraising strategy if that is what you want to do. The value of that is $4,000. You're also going to get the mini course on fundraising for non-technical founders because fundraising for non-technical founders is harder than for technical founders. It is harder because non-technical founders do stupid things like waste 180 grand when they don't know what they're doing. This is why investors are very wary of non-technical founders. This is why if you're going to raise money, you need a very, very specific approach. And you're also going to get the workshop on how to hire and lead a tech team. Throughout all of this, when your mindset gets stuck, when you have questions about the content, get in touch with us and we will help you. You are not going to be left alone in this program because we want you to be our next case study. We want you to succeed. So You are going to get an email in about 10 minutes that has a link to my calendar. If you have a question, book a call or just ask me right now. Now, there are people who have come to this program after they have already made expensive mistakes. So this is one of our students, Irina Kolokova, who says that I consider myself lucky that I have discovered Tech for Non-Techies recommended by my friend. Sophia helped me see some of the mistakes that could have been avoided on my personal journey to creating a tech product. Now, Arena didn't know about us, but the moment she found out about us, she joined us. If you know about us and you want to build a tech product, I genuinely think that there's nothing better that you can do for yourself and for your tech venture than joining us this January. Because the alternative is you're going to be alone, you're not going to get expert help, or if you do get expert help, often you're kind of begging for it. You don't know if the person is really invested, you don't know if they're going to turn up because, if you're basically asking for favors, you're in this very tenuous position. This January, you're going to get one-on-one coaching from literally the guy who makes millions of people look hot on Instagram and who has also worked in very, very budget constrained environments. This is amazing. Anyway, so now let me send you, I'm just going to open the chat. I'm going to send you the bonus that I have promised. I'm going to put it in the chat. And then I can see you've got questions. So let's deal with your questions. Okay. So what you just got, the bonus is basically our framework for how to use AI to go from idea to product. This is literally, that's the framework. And this is a summary of the framework that you're going to be following, which is an update on the Google Ventures framework that Rags and I are going to be taking you through in our one-on-one coaching sessions. Okay. So this is one of our students, Jack Gove, and he says that there's nowhere doing what Sophia is doing at Tech for Non-Techies. And genuinely, I haven't seen anything like this because there are lots of online courses, but frankly, there isn't anything of this caliber that I've seen. And also, yes, there are top accelerators, there are top business schools. I definitely recommend them. I've taught at Techstars, I've got an MBA at Chicago booth, I have lectured at some of the world's top business schools. I definitely recommend that, but that's a huge investment of time and it's a huge investment of money. So as far as a program goes, there's literally nothing like it on the market, and there are only 10 spots available only this January. Okay, now I am going to start taking your questions. You know what, actually, what I will do before I answer your questions is I am going to stop sharing my screen and I am just going to send you the page where you can sign up for the program because I know some of you already want to do that. So here you go. Okay, Q&A. So Mark says, well, you know what? I'll actually just, yeah. Mark says, I have a question about protecting the idea concept. It seems a standard NDA is not firm enough protection. Any suggestions? So, Mark, I'm going to be very honest with you. So first of all, in our program, everybody's concepts, everybody's ideas, and everybody's work is basically treated as confidential. And we do this because essentially you're going to be going through a journey, and that journey is your journey. If you want us to share it, Musi and Noor and Marilyn, they've built something that they're really proud of, and so they really want us to share it. But we will always ask your permission whether it's okay to share. So that's within the program. Now, do you need an NDA as an early stage founder? Absolutely not. And Mark, I'm going to be a little bit harsh right now. Just the sheer fact that you're asking whether an NDA, whether people are going to sign an NDA for you to protect your concept, shows that you're a very inexperienced founder. Because frankly, ideas are a dime a dozen. And don't worry about people stealing your idea. Worry about the execution. It is the execution that counts, not the idea. I'll give you an example. So, what I'll give you an example about is the fact that actually, when a product starts meeting the market, that product inevitably changes. So, whatever idea you have right now, whatever features you have right now, whatever commercialization strategy you have as your concept right now, it is going to radically change when you actually start getting that product out to market. And so, if somebody signs an NDA for your product right now, your idea is going to be radically different in about 2 months' time. So, here is the example YouTube, which we all know and love, YouTube started off as a dating site. Can you imagine? So, the original idea for YouTube was that people would upload videos of themselves talking about, this is me, this is what I want in a partner, this is what I can offer. And essentially, other people will go, like, yeah, this person is for me, I'm going to message them. And this was way before Tinder, like way before dating apps. And essentially, nobody wanted to do it. Like, nobody wanted to upload a video of themselves onto the internet talking about why they would be a great partner. It just didn't work. And then the YouTube founders started experimenting with, okay, well, what if we just put up random videos? And now, YouTube is one of the greatest homes of the cat video. Anyway, it's a place where you can learn anything. And isn't it wonderful that they pivoted? Because, like, frankly, I love using YouTube. There are so many examples of founders having one idea and that idea basically just changing as that idea meets the market. This is why it's so important that you go and you create your first version, you take it to your target market, and you test it. Because the YouTube founders, they're technical founders, but also it was a very different time then. So you didn't have the same prototyping tools that we have now. But essentially, they had to code their product in order to test their product. You don't. And secondly, imagine if you get everybody to sign NDAs. How are you going to actually do your user testing? How are you going to get feedback from your target market? How are you going to show your idea to investors? Because if you're going to be asking for everybody to sign NDAs, essentially they just won't. Anyway, so my advice to you, and by the way, this is not because I want to steal your idea. My advice to you is don't worry about people stealing your idea, worry about the execution. If this is something that is not resonating with you and you're really worried about it, you can book a call with me. We can talk about it confidentially. But also, I would just recommend Google. Like, literally go on Google and say, as an early stage tech founder, do I need an NDA? What would investors say? When would I need an NDA? And see if that helps you kind of believe me a little bit more. Okay. All right. So I can see there are there any other questions? Okay. So in terms of timing, when do we start? So I can see somebody is asking, when do we start this program? Basically, honestly, we start when you sign up. My ideal situation is that by the time February is over, you have already created your prototype, got feedback from your target market. You already have a plan for what you're going to do next, whether you're going to pivot, whether you're going to fundraise, or whether you're going to hire. If you're going to be fundraising, I would ideally like you to be speaking to investors about your plan or speaking to developers if you're going to be hiring somebody. This is what I want you to be doing by the end of February. And this is very, very possible because this is essentially what Noor and Musi did in order to move quickly. And remember, both of them are established business owners who had families, kids, businesses to run, and still managed to go so quickly. So as soon as you join the program, you are literally going to get a link to my calendar so we can have our strategy session. So if you join today, you're going to get that link today, and then you can schedule your session for tomorrow. So we can get started ASAP, because there is no time like the present. It is now 2026. The tools are here. This is the best time to be a non-technical founder. There are more investors investing in non-technical founders than ever before. So your opportunity is huge. But in order for you to capture that opportunity, you have to do some work, right? Like you have to take a risk. You have to do some work. You have to enroll in something. You have to start moving forward, because the opportunity is really, really big, but you also have to take action to get that opportunity. I can see that there are no other questions. So if you want to shoot me an email, you have my email address. Literally just respond to one of the emails that you're getting. Just respond to that. I'll answer it. Or just book a call. We will talk through whatever you're working on, whatever your concerns are, and then we will decide, is this the right thing for you or not? Again, my honest view is that there's nothing like this on the market at all. So if you're a non-technical founder with an idea for a tech venture, there is nothing better than tech for non-technical founders in general, but especially right now, because only in January are you going to get strategy coaching from me and product coaching from somebody whose products you have already used, from somebody whose products are going to be really recognized and respected by the venture capital and accelerator community. So on that note, my dears, I'm going to love you and leave you. Thank you very much for joining me today. I really, really appreciate that we are here together, and have a wonderful day. And if you have any questions, just shoot me an email. Bye.